We are very grateful that you join us this webinar that we are doing together between the Secretariat of the Basel, Rotterdam, and Stockholm Convention and the joint unit, OSHA Environmental Unit. Means we are working together in order to work in case if there is an incident related to the transborder movement of hazardous waste. Okay, as you know, the emergency mechanism was established in the COP5 of the Basel Convention, and I will try to outline the main issues related, how is, in general terms, the emergency mechanism, the main issues of the Decision 532, the interim guidelines adopted at COP6, what to do in case of an incident involving the transboundary movement of hazardous waste, the standard form adopted at the COP9, and the contacts in case of an emergency, the contacts here in Geneva. What is the emergency mechanism? The emergency mechanism was established by the Conference of the Parties to the Basel Convention in order to assist the developing countries and countries with economies in transitions in case of an incident arising from the transboundary movement of hazardous waste and other waste. And it was done by enlarging, by putting specific funds in the Technical Cooperation Trust Fund of the Basel Convention. As you know, we have two funds, one for the normal operations of the Secretariat, and this Technical Cooperation Trust Fund when the parties can access to funding for this specific case. The emergency mechanism was established specifically by Decision 532 in order to respond to the emergencies through the Secretariat. The Secretariat administered this emergency mechanism on behalf of the Conference of the Parties to the Basel Convention. There are three main aims of this emergency mechanism. There are one, in case of an incident, is one part. The other part is related to the case of the protocol of the Basel Convention, but is not still in place, is not entered into force. For that reason, that part of the emergency mechanism is not working. And the third part, you will see, is in relation to the prevention in order to enhance the capacity of the countries to prevent these kind of incidents. There are three parts of the emergency mechanism. The first part, the emergency mechanism is very clear, is to estimate the magnitude of damage or damage that may occur and the measures needed to prevent damage. This is a very way to act in a very rapid manner. Also to take appropriate emergency measures to prevent or mitigate the damage, and to help find those parties and other entities or organizations in a position to give the assistance needed to developing countries and economies in transition. This is the first part of the emergency mechanism. The third part is to assist in the developing of the capacity of the countries, and is done through the building the capacity of the countries and the transfer of technology if needed, and also to put in place measures to prevent accidents and damage to the environment. This is one part that in the last conference of the parties that was held just last May, they put it attention and they requested the Secretariat to work more with the Joint Environmental Unit in order to have the prevention part for the future. And we need the Secretariat to make proposals and submit it to the next COP, that will be in 2015, the COP12 of the Basel Convention. It means we are more towards working on the prevention side of these issues. What happened after they established the emergency mechanism? They also adopted and developed interim guidelines. This was submitted to the COP6 in 2002. And adopted by Decision 6/14 and interim guidelines that are very, very detailed, who can apply the procedures, what the country should do it, and so on. And this, somebody entered, maybe you need to switch off the microphone in order that it doesn't make echo, as Anya may informed us at the beginning. These interim guidelines provide for a series of procedures through which the emergency mechanism can be requested by developing countries or countries with economies in transition. These guidelines They are very detailed, as I mentioned it before, and they are available in all the UNC's languages, in Arabic, in English, in French, in Russian, in Chinese, and in Spanish. They are available in our website. This is the specific place where they are available. You can consult them in your language. And as I mentioned, it has a lot of information. It's very useful to go through them and to analyze what is contained, because they were really developed by the parties. There's a lot of work behind that, and still they are valid. What to do in case of an incident? As I mentioned, the eligible parties, they are the countries with economic transitions and developing countries. They are the only ones that can request assistance in case of an incident related to the transborder movement of hazardous waste. The parties taking into account the case that happened in Cote d'Ivoire, that was very a little difficult for the country to apply for the emergency mechanisms. They developed a standard form that was adopted at COP9 in order to help countries to apply for this to the Secretariat. That means there is a special form that is called standard form. Also is available in the all UNC languages, and it helps the countries to apply for this support. What it needs the countries to know that is the decision 532, as is mentioned here, the interim guidelines that was adopted at COP6, that says all the procedures, and to send information to the Secretariat in this standard form that was adopted at the COP9. The standard form is available in all languages in our website. And this I am showing here the form, the information required or that need to be filled by the contact person or the focal point of the Basel Convention in order to request this support. It's a very detailed information about the incident, when it happened, and so on. But also it gives very guidance to the country to apply for the emergency. The contacts, in case of an emergency, you can request to us directly. Later also my colleague Rene, he will give you the contacts of the joint UNEP OCHA environmental unit. They also can be, but here are the contacts you can liaise with us to by email or by phone, or you can visit also our website and you can find the latest contacts, but this is the contacts available in our secretariat for you. There are also additional information if you want to familiarize more with the response with the case of the Basel Convention. We have the Basel, www.basel.int, and there is a specific section under the legal that is called Emergency Fund. There is also information from our colleagues from UNEP OCHA. You have here www.unocha.org/UNEP. You found information about the emergency, the response to environmental emergencies. And there is just a center also launched last 15th of May. It's 1 month ago that was launched, an environmental center for emergencies. Is www.eecenter.org, where you can find information about the environmental emergencies, also training courses. There are 3 training courses that my colleague will explain more on detail. And it's very useful. This website is the state-of-the-art now and available for you to support you. It shows that we are working together, the Secretariat of the Basel Convention, together with the UN Environmental UNEP and OCHA. I mean, there are almost 3 organizations working together. Thank you very much. This is my email if you need more information, and thank you very much for joining this afternoon us. And later, after Rene gives his presentation, we can listen to your questions if you need more information from us. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Nelson. Nelson, I will now pass the floor to Rene Nijenhuis, who will make the second presentation. Okay. Okay, René, the floor is yours.
Okay, good day, everybody. As said, my name is René Nijenhuis, and I work for the Joint UNEP OCHA Environment Unit. Let me just do some technicalities to go to the first slide. This is the last slide of the presentation.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Sorry about this. So now you've seen a sneak preview of the entire presentation. I'll be telling today a little bit about environmental emergency response and what we understand with environmental emergencies. I will tell a little bit about how we are organized, how we respond to emergencies, and how we fit in with the Basel Convention. UNEP's Governing Council defined environmental emergencies as a sudden onset disaster or accident resulting from natural, technological, or human-induced factors, or a combination of these three, that cause or threaten to cause severe environmental damage as well as harm to human health and to our livelihoods. And I think from this definition it's clear that hazardous waste, and especially the dumping of it, is clearly falling within the definition of environmental emergencies. A little bit about the Joint UNEP OCHA Environment Unit. We combine the technical expertise of the UN Environment Programme with the humanitarian coordination response mechanisms that are run by OCHA. And OCHA is the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs. And within the UN system, it's part of what we call the UN Secretariat. So we make sure that we make best use of the technical capabilities and expertise of the one organization, but at the same time insert them in a coordination and a response mechanism. Through OCHA, UNEP is able to provide 24/7 emergency response capabilities to affected countries. As a joint unit, our vision is for countries to be better prepared, more resilient, and able to effectively respond to environmental emergencies. However, we have to keep in mind, before our vision is reached, we will still need to be able to assist them with response and also to assist them in terms of being better prepared. As a team, we mobilize and coordinate a comprehensive response to environmental emergencies with the ultimate aim to protect life, livelihoods, ecosystems, and future generations. Within our section, we're focusing on three separate priorities that you'll see on the screen here. The one that is of most relevance to us here is the response capability and our preparedness support activities. The third priority, environment in humanitarian action, is very much aimed at the humanitarian actors and NGOs, governments, and UN agencies to better integrate environment in their activities. Our response activities are concentrated around a couple of core support services that we provide. Within the UN system, we are the primary point of contact for international humanitarian assistance to environmental emergencies. We are able to provide expert advice based on either by telephone or on-site following an immediate sudden onset disaster. And as indicated earlier, we are available 24/7 to provide that assistance. In large-scale natural disasters, we have a capability to be airborne between 6 and 12 hours with a plane of experts and equipment that can take off from Geneva Airport here in Switzerland. In addition to that, we are able to send a wide range of experts to affected countries. And we have developed protocols and standard environmental assessment methodologies to ensure a consistency in all the work that we do. One of our, I would say, our top services that we can offer is on-site sampling and analysis in larger scale emergencies where there is a need to analyze hazardous substances on-site and ensure the results of the analysis will go straight into the humanitarian response planning on-site. Needless to say that this type of capability is obviously very expensive to deploy and will only be used in very exceptional cases. A couple of words on when competent authorities can request assistance and when the United Nations, the typical situations the United Nations would intervene. The most important is when national capacity is overwhelmed or specialized equipment is not available in country. Another case could be there is a conflict in a country and there is a need for unbiased assessments, or there is a transboundary conflict of interest with transboundary pollution, whereby a third party can provide this scientific impartial assessment results. And lastly, there might also be a need for overall coordination when there is a lot of incoming assistance arriving in a country. I would like to add that we would never come on our own initiative. The UN will only provide assistance upon a clear request from the national authorities. So that is one thing we have to keep in mind when we think about when international assistance is being provided. In addition to the emergency details through the Basel Convention Secretariat, there is also the OCHA Geneva Duty Officer, which can be reached 24/7 and 365 days a year to request international assistance. For any other requests and inquiries, we suggest you use the email address provided here. Please note, when you use the duty officer number, that you might be able to trigger something very large scale. So please only use that in absolute cases of emergency, and you are sure you do represent your national authorities when requesting. A couple of words on the assistance form, whereby we can go into details of the details of the type of assistance that is being requested, the type of incidents, the number and the type of actors involved, and also the scope exactly of for what the assistance is being requested. Let me now go into the details of a number of response missions that we have undertaken in the recent years. Probably the most memorable incident that is still very alive in our memories is the hazardous waste dumping that took place in Côte d'Ivoire in 2006, whereby I think the death toll actually now is up to 15. This is data that we used from the mission report at that time in August. I think the official reported data is now 15 people that have died, according to the authorities in Côte d'Ivoire. Within a week of the official request for international assistance, a United Nations disaster assessment and coordination team was deployed and on the ground in Côte d'Ivoire. This team consisted of a number of generic emergency managers from different countries and 3 environmental experts that have been trained by the United Nations to respond to environmental emergencies. An overall assessment was undertaken based on the information available at that time on the impact and the scope of the dumping. Together with our colleagues from UNOSAT, which is the operational satellite service provider of the United Nations, all dumping sites were mapped and were GPS locations were taken also for future reference. The major impact at that time of the crisis, and this is 1 month after the dumping took place, was that the health system almost collapsed based on a mass movement of people that were seeking medical checkups in the health system, with approximately 100,000 people in Côte d'Ivoire, in Abidjan, seeking medical support. So there was a great need at that point in time to support the UN country team on how to recuperate and support the health system. As you see on the picture here, 18 different dumping sites were identified and mapped. A bilateral support through France indicated that the main chemicals that were dumped consisted of hydrogen sulfide, mercaptans, phenols, and hydrocarbons. And although the United Nations did not take any samples themselves, the samples were taken and analysis were undertaken by a cleanup firm from France, and they worked very closely with the authorities in Abidjan. We further analyzed that there were no toxic substances in the drinking water, and which was a very great relief, because this could, if this would not have been the case, a large humanitarian relief support would have been needed in terms of providing drinking water to the population of Abidjan. Another important case that we have been involved over the years, I would say, with multiple missions to Somalia, with to date no results and no indication that any hazardous waste has been dumped in Somalia, but we are dealing here with a case of lack of verifiable information, whereby rumors continue to exist in an already very, very vulnerable community in Somalia. So these are just two examples of support that we've been able to provide to countries that have been affected by hazardous waste dumping. If you have any questions, I think we still have 15 minutes for questions and answers, and I'll be interested to hear from you.